的委员啊。那所以呢，今天呢，他来跟各位呢第一个讲一讲，就是从这个在这个日本呢，在这个智慧财产权方面这方面的最新的一些知识那同学呢也可以从这个宏达电这个案例来了解到说这些专利的重要性这是一个非常有意义和非常重要的一讲我们非常高兴就是我们王美琴老师可以邀请到田村教授来谢谢。
我们谢谢王所长这个的介绍，那我们现在邀請Professor Tom Rock to give us his excellent speech.
Excellent was better. Ladies and gentlemen, students, thank you very much for nice introduction, Professor Wang. And today I would like to show you some. English is okay? Very good, very good. Actually, English is okay for me, but I would like to try. And so today, I know that my lecture has to end until 2 o'clock. So because of the shortage of time, I would like to skip some PowerPoint slides. And I would like to make a Q&A time for 10 minutes. So if you have some questions, please raise your hands after my presentation. Okay, so first thing I would like to tell you, sorry. This is a summary of my presentation, and today I would like to tell you about the relationship between the patents and innovation. And main topic is whether the patents will really promote the innovation or not. And from there, especially in US, there exists some empirical studies. So I would like to introduce the very famous 2 or 3 empirical studies, and then I would like to show some theory of the so-called law and economics. And finally, if the time permits, I would like to show you some examples, especially in the automobiles or biotechnology or IT industry. And in these industries, the relationship, the patents and the innovation is really intertwined to promote the innovation or not. So I would like to divide my presentation into these 3 parts. And first, the empirical studies about the relationship between the patents and innovation. So first comes the very famous Yale survey. And it was performed in the US in the 1980s. And it comprises the survey performed by some famous scholars from Yale University or Yale Law School. So we call it Yale survey. And this survey comprises the empirical study based on questionnaires to R&D or research and development managers in the United States firms. Actually, in total, 650 managers in 130 industries. And the goal of this empirical study or questionnaires is to identify the expected means of appropriability or methods of amortization of the investment for innovation. So if you are the member of the firm or company which is doing R&D, then you should spend too much money maybe to make some new innovations of services or goods. So if you are the company managers, you should think about how to give it back or how to make a profit from such huge investments. And this survey wants to identify the manager's expectation, how to make a profit from the investment. And there are some alternatives. One of the alternatives is, yes, of course, the patents itself, but there are some alternatives other than patents, and they would like to identify which of the alternatives is the most important for them. And actually, you can see the very low line, the lowest line, patent and lead time and running period advantage or sequence or something like that. Okay, I would like to go on to the next slide. And these are findings. The finding first is very important, is the other means of appropriation or method of amortization, then patents are very important for them. So I think I should explain what is lead time. It's a first mover advantages. So if you innovate, or if you precede the competitor about the newer product or newer services, then you definitely will have some first mover advantages. Because if you make a very new innovation, like the, I don't know what you call it in Chinese, the Walkman, Okay. Anyway, we call it Walkman in Japanese. So can you understand it? Oh, no problem. Then actually Sony in the 1970s have made a very progressive innovation. We call it mobile radio cassette recorder. And we call it in Japan, at least in Japan, Walkman. And it was very famous. So after the success of such a very progressive innovation, Sony had acquired very huge goodwill or huge reputation. Oh, Sony is a very good innovator, everyone thinks. So actually, Sony had some patents on that Walkman type of innovation, but if Sony had not yet acquired any patents at all, but still Sony would have some very good asset, like the very good reputation, and it is one of the characteristics of the good side or upside of the fast mover advantage or lead time. So company, we would like to make the innovation to get patent, but sometimes not to get patent, sometimes to seek for this first mover advantage too. And then it comes from, then there's trade secrecy. I think most of you has heard something like trade secret or trade secrecy. And if you were the company, if you were the company manager again, then and you made some innovations, and if you can keep this new information or new information of innovation, if you keep it secret, then you can have a huge advantage which your competitor cannot get any information at all. So you know the Coca-Cola? Coke? Very difficult to pronounce for me. Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola in Japanese. And maybe some of you know the secret of the Coca-Cola. Actually, any competitor cannot make the very same Coca-Cola because the composite of that very fine drinking, actually I am a little bit addicted to that Coke, and the composite of it is kept in secret for these maybe 100 years. If you get a patent, you can get a patent of Coca-Cola, but still you have to open it, open the information for public, because you have to apply. If you would like to get a patent, you have to apply to the patent office, and to get a patent, then you should publicize the information innovation to public. So patent has duration. Well, patent has duration or time of the protection, a period of protection. So after 20 years, you have to, the patent will be vanished at all. Then the public knows the secrecy of the code if you get the patent. And after 20 years, there will be no patent. Then you will lose everything, advantage. You will lose every advantage in information. But if you keep it secret, then you don't have to publicize it because you do not have to apply that invention to the patent office. So Coca-Cola bottlers made up their mind to keep this information secret, and very fortunately for them, it has been kept for these 100 years. So trade secret or possibility of keeping the secrecy, again, this is another means of appropriation. And finally, you should definitely know what is a patent is. And this was the finding of the Yale survey. And it's a very, I think to some of you it's a very interesting or it's very lively because the patent cannot get the #1 seats among these alternatives. Actually, lead time ranks top in these methods, alternatives of appropriation. And for the process innovation, secrecy ranks second, and patent can get only third place. And for the product innovation, again, lead time ranks top, and patent next, and the third place goes into the secrecy. And you know that for the product, keep the information of innovation secret is a little bit relatively difficult because you have to sell the product to make money. But for the process innovation, you can keep it in your factory. The factory means they're making some new goods or new service, new goods. And so the secrecy can get a relatively more important role in appropriation in innovation and process innovation than the hard product innovation. And still, it's very important to observe that the patent cannot get top rank first for both innovations, or both in the process or product innovation. And finding two of this famous Yale survey is the significance of patent varies widely between industries. So actually, patent is more effective in drugs and chemicals. So for the drug innovation or for the new chemical compounds, the R&D manager will expect the patent is very, very effective. But the another industries like automobiles or the home electronics, they think the read time, the secrecy is much important than patent. So next very famous empirical study was performed in the 1990s, 10 years after the Yale University. We call it Carnegie Mellon survey because this second empirical study was performed by the scholars from Carnegie Mellon Law School. And it is more important for Japanese because later, in late 1990s, this Carnegie Mellon survey was integrated into the empirical study to the Japanese industries also. And these two, Carnegie Mellon survey and the later the survey on the Japanese firms, was intentionally implemented by the same manner as Yale survey because they want to ascertain the trends after 10 years, trends in the 1990s. Was it the very same as 1980s or not? So it comprises again the questionnaires to research and development managers in 826 US farms and 593 Japanese farms. And actually, findings vary the same as Yale University. And you can see the numbers. In Japan, for the product innovation, legal trials ranks first, and patents occupy the second place. And it is very interesting to see in Japan the patent is more important. Patent was felt more important than the US, because you can see the findings of the US survey, and patent can occupy only 6th place. But in Japan, the patent occupies 2nd place. But still, we should say, even in Japan, patent cannot get the first one in the Japan too. And this is the findings of the process innovations. And again, the complementary management, it's a little bit difficult to explain it, but it's some kind of one of the real-time advantages. So if you sell some goods, and if you make some new innovations in some new goods or new services, then you can expect more profits from the such newer goods or service itself, but still you can expect more profit from the other goods, but closely relating to that product also. And secrecy ranks 2, and lead time ranks 3rd, and patents can get occupied 4th place in Japan, and you cannot find any shadow of the patents in these top 5 categories in the United States. So the last empirical study I would like to introduce to you today is the so-called Berkeley survey. And it was okay, no problem. And it was performed by the Berkeley scholars from Berkeley Law School in 2008 or 2009, and it uses a little bit different strategy, and it comprises the questionnaires to 1,332 United States startups or ventures, and interviews with some of them. And again, the findings is as follows. Patent contributes only as very weak incentive again. And this was from their this was the sentences from their survey. In general, the patents are providing relatively weak incentives for core activities in the innovation process. Core activities means the activities of the venture funds. And the scholars from the Berkeley Law School think the venture firms or startups is performing the very top-ranked innovation in the US. And if they feel the patent is very weak, or if they feel or if they don't expect the patent as the alternative, the appropriation or amortization, then the core innovation doesn't expect anything from the patent at all. So they think the patent can serve very relatively weak incentives. And again, the findings 2 is there exists the heavy intra-industry differences of significance of patent. And more important for startups or ventures in the biotechnology and medical device sectors. and very less important for software and internet fields. And final empirical study I would like to show you is which was publicized in the book, title of which is Patent Failure. Oh, it's a typo, actually trilogy. And recently in the US, there are some interesting or intriguing books has been published, and we call it, at least I call it trilogy. So there is three interesting books. First one is a patent crisis, and second one is patent failure, which I would like to introduce today. And last one, the third one, is against intellectual monopoly. And characteristics of these three recent published books is they would like to criticize the significance of patents and maybe the weak patents, or maybe the no patents at all, will promote innovation more than if the strong patents or the existing patents itself. So today, because shortage of time, I would like to briefly introduce the findings of the patent failure. And findings as follows. Owing to proliferation of the patent infringement, owing to the increasing numbers of the patent infringement suits from 1990s in the US, patent system has served only as negative incentives to inventors. So patent system cannot serve any affirmative incentive in the US firms, and especially negative for software industry. However, patents still provide affirmative incentives for chemicals and drugs. And this slide shows the status quo of the importance of patents for the chemical and pharmaceutical industries. And the upper dot line represents the profits from worldwide patenting from these industries. And the lower line shows the aggregate or total litigation cost in the United States to the infringer or to alleged infringer in these industries. So from late 1990s, you can see the aggregate cost or total litigation cost has been increasing very rapidly, but still the profits is very huge. So there are plus margins are still can be observed even in the 1999 in the chemical and pharmaceutical firms. But first in other industries, the situation is totally changing. You can see the total cost of the litigation cost in the United States exceeds or occupies very higher than the dot line. And you remember dot line represents the profits from the worldwide patenting. So you can see the 1980s or early 1990s, they can have sometimes the dot line goes beyond the total cost, but the late 1990s, because of the increasing cost of the litigation in the United States, the patent cannot serve any affirmative incentives anymore because the cost exceeds the profits. And then I would like to move on to the analysis of the law and economics. Oh, I should skip. Actually, there are very many theories in this field of the patent law relationship between the patent law and economics. And back in memory, the very famous US scholars who has wrote the patent crisis, identify the 5 theories among them, and which could be used to establish the criteria for the designing of patent systems. And these are 5: prospect theory, and competitive innovation theory, and cumulative innovation theory, and anti-commons theory, or patent tickets problem. So first, I would like to introduce what is the prospect theory. And prospect theory was proposed by another famous lawyer in the US, Edmund Kitch, in the 1970s. And Kitch wanted to point out the importance of the inhibition of the rent-seeking for the same innovation, or inhibition of the investment for the same invention. And would like to provide some incentives to further invest in the related inventions. And under this theory, Kitch would like to propose that patents should be granted as soon as possible after filing a patent application. So he would like to promote the innovation by utilizing the exclusiveness of the patent rights. And he is actually pro-patent, so he would like to approve of the early patenting, or he would like to approve more strong patent. And the competitive invention theory, which was advocated very many scholars, and mainly represented by that of the Kenneth J. Arrow, the very famous novelist, winner of the Nobel Prize. And he would like to say, what he would like to say is the innovation can be promoted more by exposure to competition than by granting patents. So he would like to deny the patents at all. So it's a very opposite from the prospect theory by Kitch. And why he would like to deny the importance of patent? Because the monopoly conditions created by patent rights make companies which has already the patent itself become very lazy, and sometimes they would like to utilize it to prohibit the competitors' innovation. Then patent will be utilized to prevent further innovation. And the next come the cumulative innovation theory, which was advocated by Robert B. Marges and Richard Nelson. And they would like to point out the necessity of providing incentives for both basic and improvement inventions. And they would like to say patents should be issued to inventions. Invention means the patents should be issued to the both for the basic inventions and for the improvement inventions also. And to do so, they think the both patents means the patents for the basic innovation and patents for the improvement innovation. And both patents can serve to promote the basic invention and basic innovation and improvement innovation too. And blocking is a little bit difficult, so I would like to skip it. And the next 1990s, the very famous anti-commons theory has been proposed by the Heller and Eisenberg. Both of them are again the US scholars. And the tragedy of the anti-commons, which was advocated by them, is the existence of too many patent rights hinder or prohibit the use of individual rights. Actually, if you have too many patents, then the second runner or the competitor cannot get clearance of the too many patents at all. So only thing they can do is to evade from that industry. So anti-commons theory would like to stress on the importance of diminishing the numbers of the patents itself. And finally, the patent secrets problem. Then because of the shortage of time, I cannot go into details of what is a patent secrets problem, but still I can say it's a very similar to the anti-commons problem too. And recently, in the very famous book, which was titled which is Patent Crisis, the Buck and Lemery proposed some policy levers theory. It's a very good theory. And they say these 5 theories, these 5 means these prospect theory and I forgot the name of it. So maybe you can remember. So these 5 theories are actually applicable to different technological fields, and they would like to say the prospect theory can be applied to the pharmaceutical industry because of these reasons. And competitive innovation theory can be applied to business methods because the business methods were not considered patentable for a very long time. And they were still developed regardless of that everyone thinks the business method cannot be patented at all. So it means the business methods can be innovated without patents at all. So Buck and Lemery wants to say the competitive innovation theory can be applied in the business method fields. And cumulative innovation theory can be applied, they say the software industry, but actually the recent trend shows something's wrong in that software industry. So actually it can be observed in the home electronic industry in Japan. And the anti-common theory will be applied in the biotechnology industry, and patent secrets problem will be applied to the semiconductor industry. And actually, there only exist 7 minutes left, so I would like to show you the example of the software industry and what is the relationship between the patent and innovation in the software industry. You know, maybe most of you know that the IT or information technology industry utilizes the numbers of patents in a single product as a result of digitization technology. And actually it is not uncommon for as many as 500 to 1,000 or more patents to be used in a single standardized technology in this IT industry field. And with more and more patents being utilized in the development of new products, the tragedy of the anti-commons is becoming apparent. And in order to deal with the anti-commons problem, standard-setting organizations require its members to grant licenses for all of their patents under the reasonable and non-discriminatory conditions. But nevertheless, there will always be outsiders which do not participate in the standardization process and yet enforce their patent rights. And once technical standards have been agreed, substantial relation-specific investments are made in order to prepare product lines. So if a patent is enforced following such activities, the alleged infringer will probably be forced to pay high license fees in order to avoid an injunction. And actually, with the rise of the patentees who do not themselves make products, the so-called patent troll problem is increased because such companies have no reason to fear retaliation from the competitors from the patent right, and there is no incentive for them to license. So gist of this story, or upshot of this story, is again that the royalties is to be paid for these patent trolls are often very high. And it is not because of the technical merit of the patent, but for the harder problem and the effect of these network effect because of the holder problem itself. So actually, recently, it is necessary to take measures against patent laws or anti-commons in the IT industry. It is inevitable, actually. And one such measures may be to limit the patent holder's rights to injunction and award only damages. And this type of some modification of the patent rights can be observed already in the United States Supreme Court in 2006. Actually, this very famous eBay case of the United Supreme Court would like to limit the availability of the injunction and some settings in the patent litigation. And also in Japan, some decision wants to follow this eBay trend from US. So actually the traditional view means the patent right is a very exclusive right, and injunction or prohibition of the patent right is a nature of the patent right. So you cannot, or court cannot deny the remedy of the injunction at all. This type of the traditional view needs to be modified if the purpose of the granting a patent right is to encourage innovation. And actually the very huge anti-commons problem is existing in this information technology industry. So actually I would like to say more and more interaction in many fields, but still only 3 minutes left for me, so I would like to welcome the question from the students. It's okay.
同学有没有什么问题？问问题加分哦。你用中文问我，帮你发。
If you feel the difficulty in speaking English, you can ask a question in Chinese, and my secretary will translate into maybe English or Japanese. Okay, Japanese.
因为你想问什么都 OK 啊，你问说他怎么变成一个大教授也 OK 啊 ，whatever。谁要问一个问题 ？OK， 你用中文讲没关系。
我想请问一下他有关于宏达电还有Apple 的问题。
He would like you to comment on the litigation regarding the Apple and HTC, those problems. What's your comment?
I am very sorry to say that I'm not special at the Taiwan patent law. Maybe Professor Wang would like to explain, wants to explain it, or later. I am very sorry. I'm competent.
他说其实就是这个技术上的事情，我在课堂再跟你们讲。但是I think what I want to know is about your general comment regarding this litigation on technologies.
Actually, I already show you that there exists a very big anti-commons problem in the IT industry, especially in a mobile phone. So the litigation cost is very high, and the litigation between the Apple versus HTC is only the one case, and there's a very huge number of the cases in that. You can see maybe more than 30 or 40, or maybe more than 50 cases worldwide. Actually, I was already involved in 3 or 4 cases in Japan and US. So I'm sorry to say I do not know that litigation in detail, but still I should say that a huge problem exists in this industry. So I would like to limit the efficacy of the patent right because of the anti-commons problem is very huge.
Would you like to share the case you mentioned involved in litigation in Japan and US?
Actually, that case is between the Qualcomm, you know the Qualcomm? Okay, the very famous patent innovator in this mobile phone technology. And Qualcomm, the US first, and is a plaintiff, means the patent holder. And some Japanese company like the Panasonic, you can say what is a Panasonic?
Yeah, we know Panasonic.
Panasonic or some other companies is a defendant. alleged infringer. And Qualcomm wants to utilize their patent rights to actually to elevate the royalty rate of their license. So if the Panasonic or other Japanese firms would like to evade or would like to reject the patentability or reject the licenses, then they would like to enforce their patents in the litigation. So Pioneer is some kind of Panasonic is some kind of or Pioneer is some kind of scapegoat of this strategy of the Qualcomm. So the many other Japanese companies has to say, yes, okay, I should pay because I don't want many monies in the litigation. So I would like to, the offer from the license offer from the Qualcomm is a little bit relatively high, but still, if if we refuse these offers, then Qualcomm definitely goes to the litigation. Then the litigation cost is very, very high. So okay, we should admit these relatively not expensive royalty or something like that. So I should say the litigation was utilized to elevate the royalty fee in the Qualcomm strategy.
刚刚教授说，像 Qualcomm 他就去告那个 Panasonic 这些公司，那其实他就希望说，借着这个诉讼提升他们的那个权利金啊。那很多时候因为诉讼的金额是很高，我们之前讲，我可能一个诉讼的那个律师费就至少150万美金起跳嘛，然后赔偿金是几百个百万美金嘛，所以基本上很多公司可能愿意就是被告怕被告或什么，就会愿意多付一点权利金而不去诉讼，而且诉讼会拖很久，不只有说到时候可能要赔钱花律师费，还有可能是公司的股价是会下跌，影响很大，所以基本上诉讼变成是一个手段。所以刚刚教授讲一个是 anti-common 的那个问题，他觉得应该要来限制专利的那个权利这样子。
Oh, quite good summarization.
Any more questions? Professor Tamura, would you like to share your learning experience, how you start your career in IP and how you reach your status to inspire our students?
Okay, thank you. I graduated from the University of Tokyo, and at that time, I would like to be some lawyers, but I know me because I know myself because I'm not so good at to making money at all, and I like to read the many books. So and very fortunately, my supervisor invited me to the academia. So it's very fortunate at that time.
Professor Tamura 他是东京大学的高材生，那他的老师是全日本数一数二的大师，他现在也是他们老师他是现在是日本数一数二在这个领域的专家。那他曾经在 Max Planck Institute 还有很多很知名的地方做研究。那刚刚教授说他毕业的时候也很想做律师，但是他很幸运有他的老师引荐他进去大学，所以他就从事了这个教学研究的这个路。And they would like to know, we know you have been teaching and lecture all over the world. Would you mind to share what's the motivation and what's the encourage make you to work so many years hard work and doing all these explorations in your life?
Thank you very much. Actually, I am very interested in thinking, and it is one of my characteristics that the information which I find, I really appreciate it is shared by the many people. And I am very fortunate because the many students, including from Taiwan, came here to study under my supervision. And it is my great pleasure to share my findings, all of them.
教授说他很喜欢跟人家分享，他很喜欢思考，所以他很喜欢到处去教学。然后他也很高兴说有很多台湾的学生去跟他学习。像我们刚刚看到前面这个姐姐，她第一次到他那边，她是我们台湾过去在那边念博士班，那现在这边做研究员。那前面那个年轻的哥哥呢，他是这个北京毕业的，然后他现在是在北京知识 北京智慧财产局的官员到日本去念书，所以其实有很多人到那边去跟他学习。所以我们也希望各位同学努力的加油，有一天也希望你可以到那边跟 Professor Tomura 学习。